Welcome back. I'm MTG Joe, here freshly shaven with a mustache to support Movember, and we're going to be playing some blue-white control, Azorius control. So this was a list that I believe was from the MCQ. So I found it off Goldfish. So this is a more traditional counter-based control deck. So it interests me. There's a couple of elements of mind control in both mass manipulation and agent of treachery to steal your opponent's stuff. The deck presents 4 main board wipes with time wipe. It's very good to clear out like your opponent's field, and then it's got a lot of tempo elements that I like. So there's counters in the form of Veto versus any of these planeswalkers going around, Oko, whatever it may be. Then you have Mystical Dispute, which can catch an Oko on turn 2 even if they are on the draw. Sorry, if you're on the draw. And then you have 4 copies of Absorb, which is good against aggro, can give you some life back. So basically it's just kind of your more traditional control shot. The other elements of the deck, you have Brazen Borrower's tempo play. You can reset your opponent's play, take him back for the turn. Prison Realm to deal with planeswalkers. Oko, the one thing it can't target is enchantments, which is really good. And then you have a couple copies of Teferi to bounce your boy Control Man. 1 copy of Gadwick is pretty sweet. So when it enters the battlefield, if you pay X into its casting cost, it's basically Blue Sun's Zenith. You could draw the cards, and then whenever you cast a blue spell, so you could counter something and tap their permanents. Other than that, you got Chemisters to refill your hand. Another element that I like about the deck is it's taking advantage of castles. So traditionally in these counter-based decks, I like to have the Castle Ardenvale. If you don't need to counter anything, you can make tokens. It's also good as chump blockers. So it's pretty much the main board. Sideboard-wise, you got Devout Decree versus like your more Rakdos-based strategies, mono black aggro, Casket versus the aggro decks, Gust versus Gruul or Oko decks, Spyglass versus the Planeswalker heavy decks, another Dispute where needed, some Narsets against stuff like Fires or Hydroid Crisis decks, 5th board wipe in Realm-Cloaked Giant, and then 1 Finale of Glory. This is good in the board stall games. With Teferi, you can do it at instant speed, and you can basically go over the top by casting a lot of angels. With this deck, you usually want to go long, so it's advantageous here. The only thing that this deck lacks is the ability of Scrylands. In the colors, we don't have it just yet, but that would be something from a control perspective you'd like to see. So I'm going to run it through. Season's over. We are at Plat 4. We will run it back and see if we can get to Mythic again this month. So let's play some blue-white control. I was playing Cavaliers instead of Oko. It's a lot more fun than Oko. So as you can tell, I have a mustache. Every year I do participate in the Movember campaign. It is, for those unfamiliar, to raise funds for men's health, in particular prostate cancer and other forms of cancer. I will post a link to my donation page in the video description on YouTube. If you are able to, any donations is greatly appreciated. If not, just support on the channel as always. You go first. We can fetch a blue source, tempo him with Brazier. Probably keep. So my venture with Mythic. Some people were asking. So the night before, 17 hours before, I was 950th place, top 1200. Obviously, make to the next MCQ qualifier. Went to bed 9:50. Woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Proceeded to see that I had fallen down to 1150. Decided to play a game to try to rank up again. Usually could go up about 200 ranks with a win. Proceeded to lose. Okay, so I dropped. Then proceeded to lose the next. I'm gonna wait to see what they play. If they play a 2-drop, it's better tempo play. Proceeded to lose the next 8 and 9. So fell completely out of contention, couldn't get out. So the entire month of grinding and finished basically in the 99th percentile, which is still a good accomplishment, but kind of a bummer. So we're just bouncing this tempo play. We'd like to see a land, which we don't hit. Kind of annoying. If we can get to the lands, because we have Prison Realm, it's like we have 2 time wipes. Jeez. So didn't expect this hand to be this bad. This matchup shouldn't be too bad because like we have the vetoes. So we are gonna cavalcade that or veto that. Then the pump. Yeah, so we're probably too far behind at this point. Missing land drops 2 turns in a row. With the power they have on board, we're not really going to get anywhere with a Frenzy. Yep, lost this one. That's a little unfortunate. We had a lot of the answers for the matchup, just we got magicked. So this matchup, obviously, Devout Decree is good, Glass Casket's good. Probably the Aether Gust as well, just as a tempo play. In terms of coming out, the vetoes are probably a little lackluster. Mass Manipulation's too slow, as well as the agents. This matchup we're going to win either through Brazen Borrower or the Ardenvale. Might want to go... actually... Yeah, let's bring in Finale, cut down a time wipe. Realm-Cloaked can at least attack in. The Mystical Disputes are okay on the play. Could probably cut these 2. Actually, shave down a Teferi. Play one of those. Teferi's usually not as good in the mono-red matchup. They have a lot of hasters, so the bounce isn't as good. Like, it could bounce Cavalcade and reset them on that regard. So we'll play first. Jeez. Alright, we got lands. We're keeping. No greed here. We got Brazen Borrower and Aether Gust to reset, which is nice. This is interesting because I think we still put this back. I think just from a tempo play, this is more effective. So here, I'm going to hold off, wait for them to go to combat in case they play something else with haste. Okay, so that'll come down. So because this gets the trigger off attack, we're just going to bounce it. They do get to reset it, but we're just trying to slow them down this game. Okay, so we have Teferi. So the question is, I could Teferi bounce this again, but I may just want to hold up the... Actually, no. I think this turn we're fine. I just want to try to get into a board wipe. Because what we... Like on turn 4, I want to hold up mana to be able to counter a Experimental Frenzy. So here, we'll just hold this up. So we'll take the damage here. It's effectively 2 spells. Let's let this resolve. So I'm just gonna Chemisters here. I want to try to find a board wipe. We're still at 15 life. Perfect. So here, I think we just hold up the counter. If they drop, because they could drop Frenzy here. We can board wipe them. We can always reset the Frenzy, which is fine. That takes their whole turn. This is okay because we can here I'm actually gonna Aether Gust this. They're inclined to put this on top and then I can absorb it on the way down. The adventure cards are good in this deck. The fact that they're spells early to disrupt and then threats later on. Yeah, well, if they're not going to cast anything, then we can drop down a Borrower. So here... I'll just pass turn. No sense of taking damage against this deck. We've probably stabilized at this point. So similarly here, I think we just pick up the clock. Like if they don't want to play out stuff, we're just gonna grind them down. I like both these counters in hand. Okay, so that'll be something we can pitch to the Insight. Don't really have a need for the Gadwick right now. This is a 2-turn clock. And this pads our life total. I always like that animation. Good game. So here, I think we just play out the Cove and say go. Or you know what? Let's just Gadwick. We can just tap, if they play one creature, we can just tap it. This also makes it so even if they kill one of these, we still have lethal. Okay, got him. Finale's in here over Mass Manipulation because we can make blockers. So on the back side, I could probably get rid of Teferis and probably bring in... Do we want the other Time Wipe? Probably. And then bring in a couple... We've seen the Chandras, but I think if we just play Veto, they're more flexible. We can go from that regard. So that game was just an idea. Like, you just keep tempoing them. Keep making them recast the same stuff while you get an advantage on mana, and then take it from there. So I'm going to keep this hand solely because we're incidentally gaining 3 life each turn, and we have a board wipe to catch us up. The fact they don't have a 1-drop is also beneficial. And they may have gone a little bit bigger post-board. Light up the stage? Yeah. So that's not bad. We got a couple options next turn. They'll probably shock us here. So here, if they play a creature out, I can Aether Gust it. If they play out a Planeswalker. So that's fine. I'm going to Aether Gust the Cavalcade. Here, we probably just veto here. They'll get the counter on it, which is fine. Okay, so we're drawing way too many lines at this point. So let's just go Fabled Passage here. It gives us an opening if we need to Chemister's Insight. If they don't commit more to the board, then I'm fine. Like if this is their turn, then I'm content. Okay, so with Frenzy on the stack, I'm going to just Aether Gust it this turn. I want to buy another turn where they don't get the utility off that. Okay, so we got Realm-Cloak. I'm actually... I think I'm okay 1-for-1-ing here. The issue is I don't have... what's it called? A counter for this, so they're going to get some utility out of it. But the thing is, this in conjunction with Steamkin is a little scary. So I will go cast off here. So the reason being is when we could cast the Giant to block, we can also bounce it back with a time wipe and reset it as a board wipe. Okay, so we got Veto off the top. We can't cast both, so let's put this into play tapped and then just pass the turn. Our life total is pretty high right now. If they're spending their whole turn on this, I'm fine with that. My guess is they drop Cavalcade, maybe. Probably okay with this. This means we can Chemisters. Okay, Castle's actually pretty good here. So Castle requires 4 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're 1 short here. I still think we play it out because I can Chemisters and Absorb on this turn. Let's just pass the turn here. I want to try to find like a Brazen Borrower. I actually don't like that. That with Frenzy is a bit scary. Tin Street's fine. All these creatures are fine. I can just board wipe them. So we're going to take a bit of a hit this turn. So we take 5 just off the triggers, and then we take 7 in total. Aye. Okay, so we got the Borrower. So let's go time wipe this turn. Gets rid of those. Let's gain a life back. Then stop on their upkeep. I basically want to tax them to spend mana this turn. We don't have the counters for it. So like this basically makes a... Okay, so Torbrand's actually quite frightening. Oh, we might just be dead. That's 9 damage. Oh, that is terrifying. I'm just dead on triggers. Yeah, so we're just dead on triggers. Torband's actually terrifying. So let's see if they attack first. If they cast something, we could gain some life. You know, I probably should have done that because we could have got a Glass Casket. Yeah, we were short of mana anyways. That's unfortunate. That one was tough. The Torbrand kind of kicked our ass there that game. Let me just give Arena a quick reset. Usually when the games run a little long, it seizes up a bit. So we are playing a blue-white control list. This was one that was played at the MCQ. More traditional control. Mono-red has always been a pain in blue-white controls, but just the early aggressive decks. Control is really going to be preying on the mid-range decks. These variations, like your counter spells, aren't really as good against a bunch of 1-drops. And we might have, like, I still think it was correct to bounce the Frenzy. Maybe should have let them play out some stuff first. That hand is not something we want. Let's see. I've had some very awkward draws with this deck. If we could just hit running lands, we're okay. But yeah, creature deck, we're going to be in trouble. Well, running lands of... We need a white source. If we could get a white source, we might be okay. Okay, at least we could counter this, whatever they play out next. That's actually pretty good, getting rid of this. Do they activate Priest? Well, they're dumping their hand. Okay, so we know what the opponent's on. We're too far behind in this game. We didn't have a board wipe for that. So they think that we're probably just on some sort of flash list. They haven't seen the white, so there is some utility in withholding that information. Mystical's Dispute's actually probably more useful than the Vetoes in this game. So we're bringing that. This is a creature deck, so Realm-Cloak is good. Agent's probably too slow. One more cut. Probably a Mass Manipulation. They can't really draw cards in this matchup, so Narset's not as useful. The Aether Gust. They showed red. Actually, Finale's probably more useful than the Mass Manipulation here. But this is likely the Saktos deck, which is base black. The red is usually just for Mayhem Devil. The mana base has been weird with this deck. That's the only thing. I gotta check how many lines. You're probably playing 24. The curves... And like the agent's main might be too cute. I may just want some more early game. Like even the Glass Casket's main. Okay, so we'll keep this hand. Casket into Absorb. Or Prison Realm. Opponent gives us the hello. That is a beautiful target for this casket. So the nice thing is we can Borrower, bounce their play this turn, and then counter it on the way down. If it's nothing too impactful, we also have the Priest we can set up. See, I'm actually more concerned with the Witch's Oven in this matchup. It's consistent utility. And I'm not too worried about the creatures, per se. So that's actually pretty good because this turns on our second white source. So this turn I'm just going to play it cool. Let's make the opponent make the move here. I want to incentivize them to play more creatures. So the things we bounce are something like a Chandra. Rankle's a little scary. So here, I think I'm just going to trade 1 for 1 this turn. I don't want to discard the cards in my hand. And I'm fine taking like 2 damage each turn. We're at 22. That's very aggressive. Like if that's their whole turn and they just get the Gutter Bones back. Yeah, that's actually better for us. Like our thing was going to die anyways. Teferi's great here. So they could have another Rankle. If they do, they kill the Teferi, but they still have to attack the Teferi. Okay. So this is probably the best play. They get Priest out, and then we have the option to instant speed. Ooh. That's going to be very good with Teferi. So they get the benefit of sacking this turn. And my guess is like they don't pump. I'll give him the sack this turn. See, that's good now. See if they pump. They don't. So we'll just time wipe here. They get to ping Teferi for 1, but I got an instant speed finale for 4 next turn. And then I got Mayhem. So we'll gain the life here. Hey Merlin, give me a sec. I'll link you to the deck list. I haven't uploaded this. This is one of the ones I got off Goldfish. So usually like to do this for more, but I think in this case here it's worth just doing the trade. Actually, there's no reason not to multi-block. They could be playing Shock. Deck's right there. The nice thing is these can be offensive and defensive. I kind of want to just get rid of Priest here. This sets up our Scry. That's actually not bad. It's more insurance. We can also cast it at instant speed. Okay, especially now that Teferi's gone. Okay, they got another Priest. Interesting. So that does turn off Priest, which is nice. I'm just going to pass the turn. We can scry on end step. Ooh, that's a little annoying if they make us discard. So we'll see what they do here. If they put the draw trigger on, then I'm going to scry. Okay, they just make us discard. Still not that in that bad of a shape. I'm gonna fetch first. We have a lot of card draw in our deck, but haven't seen any of it. I'm also gonna put a stop on my upkeep in case. Okay, so we have the insight, so I actually do like that. So we tack in. Like we can take the damage. The 3, this sets them back a turn, but lets us refill our hand, so I think we just do this again. This is basically going to take their turn, so they can't commit more to the board. And I'm going to hold this in hand, because if they make us discard, I can discard the land. If not, I could use it for Chemister's Insight. They do need to hold these back now. Well, I guess they could block normally. They just can't force the draw too much. So discard this land. Okay, so they're going to sack. Still fine. Just in case if we draw something a little bit more useful. Okay, so we just got counters here. So if they don't commit more to the board, Cauldron Familiar. I can bring it back. This comes into play tapped. Actually think we absorb here. So they can't draw. They're dead if they draw. They can bring back the dude. They can force us to discard. They can force us to sack a creature. Okay, so we'll just get rid of the counter here. Oh, that's perfect.
Don't worry, I got this.
So we're gonna let him go to attacks. Just set up the time wipe here. Second time wipe's good. So we just need a way to close out the game now. Okay. Got him there. Against Rankle. Rankle is scary, but I think we just run it back. Like, between the Brazen Borrowers and, like, Devout Decrees and stuff, we should have enough answers to it. The haste is what's a little frightening. But we effectively can have 5 instant speed board wipes. The rest of their creatures aren't the most aggressive. I generally don't like Priest keeping it in against like heavy board wipe decks. You usually can't assemble a critical mass, and on its own, like, you usually hold Priest back from attacking. Opponent's going to be on the play, which is beneficial on their part. I don't think we could keep this. Okay, this hand's better. So I'm going to put back the Fabled Passage. Can't tell if all our opponents are impatient today or... Okay, Teferi's a good restart. And at the very least, it distracts them. So I'm going to play this out. They can get the card draw this turn. I kind of want to draw an untapped line. That's why I'm doing it. I drew another Teferi. I don't like that. So a little unfortunate there. They got under us. So I'm going to have to spend a turn here. This will get bigger. We need to find a land that doesn't come into play. Yeah. So we lost this one here now. This mana situation. Yeah, and they got Oven. That was free sack with the Oven, which is a little strange. So I could Teferi bounce this, which is probably the play. It just takes some power off the table this turn. The problem is even drawing into like a board wipe here doesn't do too much. I think I want Planar Cleansing. I'm going to make that switch after this. We'll play this in a best of one. You had the attackers. Why don't you save that for a more meaningful point? So board wipe here would be the best, and then I could Prison Realm it on the backside. Show me a board wipe. Nope. That was a very awkward. One untapped land would have taken us there. I think we do want Planar Cleansing. We don't have a clean way to deal with Planeswalkers. Let's go... Where are you? Oh, wrong deck. Get rid of Agent. So I'm going to bring the Finale main, I think. And I'm going to bring the Realm-Cloaked main. I'm going to get rid of the agents. Going to bring in a Planar Cleansing. And I think I want a Mujangling. Just as a kind of roadblock on the opponent. Or actually, let's do an Ugin. Make that change. Let's play a best of one, see how we fare in that format. There's been elements of the deck I've liked. Hyper aggressive decks are not usually what we want to be facing off against. Like, this deck's probably pretty good against Oko decks, like the Mystical Dispute main, the Counters main. So this hand really doesn't do anything, especially with the opponent on the play. And to be honest, it might just be wrong to not be going like Jeskai or Kaya's or Esper. Like, you take less damage from your lands, but I feel like there's more utility. Keep this hand. Okay, Broko. This could be Bank Ramp. Well, we don't have the turn one Mystical Dispute. They're gonna get Oko down. Okay. If we can dodge one more turn, like, I'm not afraid of Questing Beast per se. So in this case here, I know we're going to take the same damage, but it stops them for a turn from attacking into us. Or, sorry, stops them from advancing their board for one more turn. So that's actually pretty good, because this will let me Prison Realm, and then most of their Planeswalkers are blue-based, so I can Mystical Dispute. Think we... Yeah, we could keep that. It gives us something to do if we don't hold the counters up. That's unfortunate. Literally the one planeswalker that would have not gotten stuck. I think we have to take one more turn of damage. I can Gadwick this turn. Let's maybe do that. Can't really afford to have another planeswalker come down. Let's just pass the turn. I could blow up some lines. This because the problem is even if they have like a crisis, it gets under us here. I just want to play Simic Food. This deck was meant to beat up on Simic Food. So this is probably the opponent paying into the next spell. So I can dispute this. They can't pay the 3. So they get to draw the cards. If they want to play something else out, I also have the time wipe. I have no clue what's happening with Arena screen right now. I don't know whose timeout it is. So I need them to play... Okay, good. Because I need to gain the life this turn. Because we can board wipe, but I need a... So I'm going to play the cast off side first. We're still dead. They just plus the Scion. We don't have a way to deal with the 2 result. Where is the Simic Food deck? Where is the Simic Food deck? Like this deck, it's better on the play than the draw, which is a little unfortunate. Like a lot of the cards are not useful, where Esper is better suited because you have actual responses. No Murderous Rider is also a pain. We don't have double blue, but we can play Prison Realm Teferi, so we'll keep... Opponent goes first, we're on the draw. Mono red, we're dead. Cool. These counters do nothing. That's extremely weird. They just skip through their attack step. Yeah, they dump their hand. Yeah, I'm just going to concede this one. This hand is not going to beat what's come out. We'll give it one more. This deck's not... I applaud the person who brought it to the Mythic Qualifier if they ranked up with this, but if you're not facing Simic Food, it is a dog to these aggro decks. You need Cryocarnarium, or like you need a turn 4 Wrath, or like Clarion. And if we're playing Jeskai, we might as well play Jeskai Fires and just get the utility there. Like the Jeskai Cavaliers list has been much better. Sure. Let me play a non-creature deck. Gruul. This is actually okay. It's a very slow start for Gruul, but it's fine if we can just Prison Realm. That's very... That would have been very good if we could have vetoed that. If they would have just played out the other side. Their hand seems clunky, so I'm willing to take the 4 damage this turn because I can absorb. Like, I'd rather... Yeah. So this pretty much fogs them. It gets rid of a Questing Beast, and then I could Prison Realm this. I am content to play another Absorb, so I'm just going to play out the island this turn. I don't want to shuffle away. If they play a Nissa, I can Prison Realm it. Okay, they play once. Ooh, that's interesting. So we're just going to pass the turn here. Teferi would be nice. Just some sort of card draw. Another land we can start stealing. Boreal Grazer is fine. It does enter as a 1/1, but it's not the end of the world. Now, this is something we counter. This also fogs it for the turn. Drawing both the vetoes in this game feels very awkward. Get a second white source. Okay, so we have time wipe. I think we just pass the turn. I want him to commit like one more thing to the board to get the value out of this time wipe. That's fine. Okay, so we're taking a smack here. But that's also 2 Questing Beasts that'll be out. It's annoying. Why against the creature deck? Now watch, they're going to drop Nissa this turn. You also need one more land to start being able to steal stuff. Okay, Teferi's good. So, want to set up. Nah, I think we need something more impactful. Either an untapped land so we can steal something. I didn't feel like Teferi bouncing since it gets the damage. Okay, Castle Vantress is great. So this will let us now start scrying. If they play something big, I can steal it with Mass Manipulation at instant speed. Cool. And that's the fun. Like, the one thing I like about these control deck, you don't really have to show a win condition just once you kind of grind them out like that. So, it had some promise, the deck. Overall, I still think I like it better, this configuration, than the Agent of Treachery's main. Just more kind of response items. The 5 board wipes main. Kind of winning with Finality. If you're seeing more aggro, you might need to tailor and bring in the Glass Caskets. Oh, I didn't update this. Put another Devout Decree. Like, you might need these Glass Caskets main. Just to deal with the more aggressive decks. That's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. You can catch the whole video on my YouTube channel. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, I am raising funds with this mustache for Movember. It is not a style choice. It is something that I'm trying to do to generate some funds for local charities and for primarily like prostate cancer, stuff like that. So I'll put a link in the YouTube description to my donation page. If you are able to make any donations, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll be back tomorrow with this Grixis spells list, which is kind of a Dreadhorde Arcanist, play a bunch of cheap stuff, and kind of grind out utility there. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great one.